All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode. Our technically second episode. Our first one that you'll be hearing, Weeze and the Fat Dawg. Here we are. So you're probably wondering why I am saying welcome back, and it's because we recorded an entire episode, an hour and 20 minutes long, that we didn't record. I swear, it was really good stuff.
It was heartfelt, emotional. There were tears, there were screams, all into dead air, and we really kicked the show off with a bang.
It's the best stuff we've ever recorded.
I think so.
But you'll never hear it.
I think so.
Anyway, so a little background on Weeze and the Fat Dawg. This is 20 years in the making, just about. Well, I'll say 19, maybe exaggerating 20. Kieran and I, for a long time, we'd sit in the basement of my parents' house, maybe a few drinks, maybe a few something else, who knows, and we'd sit and we'd talk hours on end about anything relating to sports. And after a while, people are like, why don't you just make your own podcast? And then so here we are. It took us 20 years.
It took us 20 years, and I think that kind of one of the things that we talked about was 20 years in the making, we just needed the technology to get a little better and make it happen. Of course, it looks like it's 20 years in a week because we couldn't figure out the technology that we had.
Right.
But happy to be here. Also, our terrible Super Bowl predictions were erased last week, so that
I nailed it. I said it was going to be 13-3 Patriots.
I had the under and everything. I should have known.
Yeah, I think I actually realistically, I think I bet the Rams on the 3.5 or whatever they got. So that game, jumping right into it. Let's get the Super Bowl out of the way, and we won't have to think about football until draft day, hopefully. If you like defense, it's the game for you. And Bill Belichick found a way, like he usually does, to expose a 30-year-old head coach. Had no idea what was coming at him. Jared Goff was on his back way too much. And it was a defensive game. So the Patriots scored 13 points. You'd think if you told the Rams before that game if they would sign up for the Patriots and Tom Brady to score 13 points, they'd sign up for that.
Yeah, I think you'd have to, and like you said, it was everything that the echo chamber didn't want to see. Which is exactly what they wanted.
Yeah.
They wanted something to cry about, so they got to cry about the low-scoring, boring game.
Right.
They got to cry about Belichick and Brady win another Super Bowl, and they got to cry about Adam Levine taking his shirt off and playing 15-year-old pop singles.
I'm a big Adam Levine fan.
I am too.
You are? Okay.
We don't want people canceling the podcast this early. 3 minutes in, so we won't touch too much of the Super Bowl, and we won't touch too much on Maroon 5.
Okay, fine, but really quickly, I like him because he plays golf.
Okay, all right.
Not like because he had his shirt off.
I like him because he can shred on the guitar, and he got to show it off a little bit.
He can. He can.
But and hey, listen, he makes damn catchy songs. But
he does.
And I don't think that the halftime show warranted the abuse that it got.
I didn't either.
But hey, you know what? Anytime everyone's talking more about the halftime show than the actual game, that there's
indicative.
issues in the on-field product.
Sure.
And listen, I mean, Goff looked like a lost child in the mall that game, desperately looking around for his parents. And
I felt bad for him.
Belichick looked cool, calm, and collected. McVay's photographic memory didn't help him out too much when it came to the prison yard that the Patriots had for them. And listen, I mean, it was a game. If you love punting, you got your punting in.
Special teams did a very good job.
Yeah, I mean, it reminded me of the of course, we're both Giant fans. It reminded me of the 2001 Giants' performance against the Ravens. Where Brad Maynard, the punter Brad Maynard, felt like he was on the field more than Kerry Collins.
He's like the MVP.
Yeah.
I was scrubbing myself in the shower the other day, and it's weird how stuff comes to you. But in that moment, I thought about.
I hope the stuff didn't come to you while you were scrubbing.
No, but you know, and weirdly enough, I'm thinking of Bill Belichick while I'm scrubbing myself down, which you can, for whatever reason. And I thought to myself,
we just lost the ones we didn't lose on the Moving 5.
You can have that mental image if you'd like it. It's yours. It's yours forever. If the NFL started in the 2000s, it would be the Bill Belichick Trophy. They'd be hoisting the Bill Belichick Trophy. He is Vince Lombardi today. He is. He absolutely is. He's the most winningest coach in NFL history, is he not?
Yeah.
Something to be said for that.
I think that people are so quick to dismiss greatness in the now, and it doesn't help that they're from New England and you got the whole Boston, right? And there's you know, and there's an obnoxious nature to all fan bases, but Boston seems to, you know, kind of have cornered a large part of that.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, when if you look at Jordan back in the day, when the Bulls were tearing it off, everyone hated Jordan.
Yeah, I hated him.
If you look at Jeter, you know, the only one who liked Jordan in those days were Bulls fans.
Bulls fans.
The only one who liked Jeter when the Yankees were doing their dynasty were Yankee fans.
Yeah.
And when you look back and you hear anyone look back on Jordan or Jeter, all they do is praise them, you know. And I don't know, you know, I think that maybe Brady and Belichick are probably a little more divisive than those two guys.
Yeah.
And I think that maybe that won't be everyone. But at the same time, I mean, what these guys have done, you know, to put a 18-year, 17, 18-year dynasty together is just... It's in all four sports or in all major sports. It's something that's you just look at and
it's impressive.
Be impressed at. Just being on it.
It is, and just to piggyback on that, I used to say all the time growing up, if I saw Michael Jordan on the street, I'd spit in his face. He cost us championships. We didn't see NBA championships as Knicks fans because of Michael Jordan.
Yeah, until he played minor league baseball. That's
yeah, and then I was a Jordan fan for a little bit. But if I saw him today, I'd be like, Michael,
the greatest of all time.
Like, man, you know, and with his body type to do what he did, defense, offense, the whole thing. But all right, enough with the Super Bowl. Let's switch gears out of here. We're talking about basketball. Let's jump into the Porzingis trade, the aftermath of the Porzingis trade. You know, what you think of it, and whatnot. I'll start it off by saying that when it happened, good riddance. If someone doesn't want to be here, if you don't want to be on the Knicks, if you don't want to buy in, then we don't want you here. Thank you very much. And then seeing that press conference, Kieran, that he had where Carlisle's saying that his brother's part of the team, all that stuff is like, dude, what are you gonna feed him his meals and wipe his ass?
It was sad. Yeah, it was sad.
Yeah,
it was sad to look at. You know, I you know, seeing that, you know, like giddy smirk on Carlisle's face, it was just, it was cringeworthy. It was cringeworthy. You know, and listen, you have these malcontents around, and you know, the guy can't get on the court as it is. You know, he's
walking around like he won a championship or something.
I mean, you know, he's a frail athletic superstar.
Yeah.
You know, I think he's got a lot of promise. You know, I remember watching his first couple games and just saying, "Wow, there's a lot of tools here."
Yeah, yeah, we were excited.
But you could see him go in on the paint, and you kind of cringe watching it, just because you say this guy's he's gonna break.
Yeah,
you know, he's gonna break, and you know, at the same time, on the flip end of that, you know, all right, you have your malcontents, and you don't want around, but put yourself in his shoes. He got drafted into this disastrous situation. And the Knicks over the last 2 decades have been the biggest running joke in New York sports. It's a 3-ring circus, and it's one that has been running for decades too. This is not like they're on a bad stint or they're failed to rebuild. I mean, this goes, you know, from Keith Van Horn to Eddie Curry to Moochie Norris to the absolute disaster we have to watch in 2019.
Jeremy Lin was
the only
like 6-week period of time that like we.
Yeah, I think it was a mirage in a desert. Is what it was.
Yeah, pretty much.
And you know, and you had your 1 year with Amari, and you know,
That was exciting. That year when they went to the playoffs.
Right. Oh, they went to the playoffs when 16 out of 30 teams make the playoffs. You know, and the 7 and 8 seeds are 10 games under 500.
I know.
But you know, I think that if you look at Porzingis and you know, and him and his brother hold hands and discuss their situation. Wouldn't you not necessarily be happy with what you're looking around at? I mean, at some point, if you're standing there and you're in the middle of a 3-ring circus at all ends, at some point it's like, I got to get the hell out of here before I start getting fleas. You know, because it's like...
How many times are they going to tell them the same story? Right?
Yeah.
Wait till next year. This guy's like... I don't like what's going on here.
And I mean, he has to know he's injury prone too. So he's like, let me get a chance to do something while I can. And I'm going out there and getting beaten up. Beaten up every night. And
what better person to be under than Dirk? Though.
Yeah, and everyone compared him to Dirk when they drafted him. The great Phil Jackson took the helm and
never to be heard from again.
And they thought they'd get the next Dirk. So now we'll see if they have the next Dirk playing next to Dirk.
Yeah.
See if there's shades of David Robinson and Tim Duncan there, or European style, but. Listen. The Knicks are a disaster. You spend money there. You're better off burning your money in your backyard. I mean, that's the never-ending wheel of the Knicks and MSG and Dolan is. They fill the place no matter what they do.
Doesn't matter.
They could have. They could have me and you and 3 blind people out there, and people are going to go to the games.
Something to do.
Yeah, and it's just it's the epicenter of what's going on in the city, and.
Right.
It's a...
there's no incentive. There's no incentive to be good, apparently. So
it's sad because there is such a historic nature to the Garden and to the organization, and it seems each year we're getting further and further away from that being the organization and it just being the building. And it's like, oh well, it's a historic building. There's a bunch of clowns who occupy it, but
maybe Zion next year though. That's what we got to hope for.
Yeah. Oh, with the Knicks luck, they'll get the first pick and they'll pass on Zion. They'll get the Sam Bowie of our generation.
Some cockamamie
like Greg Oden.
Oh boy, yeah, that's another one.
Jeez.
But
and that's the other thing too. If you're a Knick fan and you're looking at it. They're not the only team that's embarrassing themselves on a nightly basis. You got 5 teams in the league that are all just racing to the start line while everyone's walking to the finish line.
Yeah,
it's whether we're talking about the Bulls who since their run in the 90s have been a complete dismal joke.
Yeah.
And then you have the Suns are the one out west that can't win.
Mm-hmm.
In addition to that, you got the Cavs. The LeBronless Cavs.
Oh yeah. Speaking of LeBron. Oh.
Yeah. Yep.
Boy, oh boy. Really quick though. He was basically trying to trade away the entire Los Angeles Lakers. LeBron is power forward. He's a guard. He's a center. And he's the general manager of the Los Angeles Lakers. And listen, I would have him on the Knicks doing whatever he wants to do. He could do just as good of a job as Steve Mills and Perry or whatever his name is doing. But imagine walking into that locker room. Obviously he doesn't care. He's LeBron James, but it's got to be weird, right?
I just we talk about. And this is going to be another real polarizing topic with LeBron James. I know there's people who sing his praises and think he's the greatest talent that's ever come across any sport. But, we talk about Jordan, we talk about Jeter, we talk about even Brady. And, what this guy has done in such a short period of time to just alienate himself from public opinion. In Cleveland, where he's there and he gets the European coach fired, David Blatt.
Yeah.
Brings in his guy Tyronn Lue, and now he's basically got a puppet on the string coaching his own team.
Yeah.
And it's like, do you ever Do you ever remember Jeter not getting along with Joe Torre or Buck Showalter?
No.
Do you ever remember Jordan not getting along with Phil Jackson? Now, David Blatt isn't Phil Jackson or Joe Torre.
No.
But at the same time, it's like, what? And like you said, now he's a GM. Now he's going to step on the GM's host.
Yeah.
And you got Luke Walton sitting there with his,
waiting.
sitting on his hands.
Waiting to be fired.
He's got to turn the corner and see if Tyrone Lue's hiding in a garbage can somewhere out there to take his job.
Right, yeah,
exactly.
But I will say, though, for everything he's done as far as wanting the spotlight on him, being this, negative media presence in some capacity, you don't hear anything about what he does off the court. You're never hearing about LeBron James up till 4 a.m. in the club popping bottles. Like, this guy, he's dead serious.
Yeah, I mean, he's a father.
And I respect that. I respect that aspect. He would be a good brand. He's a great brand to market around from that aspect of things. Whether you love him or hate him, the marketing portion of LeBron James is gigantic. There's no advertisers like, no, I'm good on LeBron because he's kind of a jerk sometimes.
Right.
So there is something to be said for that.
There is, and behavior is different than kind of the person you are, and it's not breaking down that. But when you see him go on 60 Minutes with his glasses and his dressed like Sherlock Holmes,
I can't believe it. Literally,
I mean, it's like you just go there and you just say, God,
yeah,
what is this guy doing? Whether you bring him back to take my talents to Miami. I mean, it's hard to like him. It's hard to like him, and and listen, he's trying to chase those kids out of LA, and one of them hit the game-winning shot last night. We're recording this on a Friday. The Lakers beat Boston on a.
LA actually beat Boston at something. How nice.
On a buzzer beater last night.
Too bad it didn't matter.
What I'm referring to there.
Right.
And I don't know. We'll see. We'll
absolutely.
see. We'll see what this. I think that he is starting to realize what it's like to play in a big city, though.
It's totally different than Cleveland.
It ain't Cleveland and it ain't South Beach. It's L.A. and New York are the real deal, and you've seen there's been plenty of guys who've come through and who have come through those cities and just fallen on their faces and gone and run for the farmland. So,
if he can take that team, if he can bring the Lakers back to win a championship.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, you'll have Jack Nicholson will be doing backflips, and Magic Johnson will be, pushing everyone aside to get ahead of the line at the press conference, and they'll be, we'll be looking at another Kobe Bryant, but until you're Kobe Bryant, you're not Kobe Bryant, and I don't care how many championships you won with Wade and Bosh.
Yeah,
come on, it's like, geez.
Man, but something. I always wonder. Magic Johnson must be some sales guy, though. He must be some sales guy.
Yeah.
I didn't see obviously, I get it. Like, he loves California. He's got a house out there, the history, all that stuff. But he had a path to the NBA Finals out of the East every year he wanted it. And he's not going to the NBA Finals this year. He's not going next year. He may not go the year after that. I don't know what they're going to do in 2 years. But they're not set up right now to compete against the Golden State Warriors.
No, they're not. I will hesitate to say, because there's been times before when you looked at the Cavs and they were not clicking at all cylinders in the regular season, and then here come the playoffs, and all of a sudden they're in the Eastern Conference Finals. So it's not out of the realm of possibility.
No, I don't think so.
And you see all of these, these fake news regular season NBA teams, like the classic one, or the Raptors, who will set NBA records for wins in the regular season, and then Drake will come to the game with his Raptors hat on and
they're gone.
In his Barney the Dinosaur suit. And then they get swept by the Cavs. And then goodbye. And the Rockets, and D'Antoni. Are these guys going to actually?
I don't trust the Rockets.
Yeah, I mean, are they going to actually beat him when it comes down to it? And who knows if he's pacing himself? Who knows?
That's true. That's true. They're a couple games over 500, but if they can make the playoffs, the guy can take over a game.
Yeah.
So, but he's going to need some people if he wants to get to the finals.
Yeah, and it's the one thing I look at too with it, and I with the Cavs teams that he played on, and everyone said, "Oh, well, look at these teams. Yet there's no one on that team. There's no one on that team, and maybe those players are a little better than we give them credit for.
Because you can't just win with anyone.
Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love and Korver shooting his threes from the there were some solid role players on that team.
Absolutely. Kyrie Irving going to be a Knick? Is Kevin Durant going to be a Knick?
If Kristaps Porzingis' brother gives him a call, gives him the intel. I'm as someone who's followed the Knicks since I was 9 years old. I'm tired of hearing about him at this point. And until they get someone, until they make a move, and that move doesn't include hiring an 85-year-old GM who's gonna give 3 max contracts out and then go back down to. Hang out with Morty Seinfeld down in the
Boca
retirement home. Boca Raton. They're going to have to do it. And listen, this trade is a step in the right direction. It's a step in the right direction.
I think it is.
You cleared the space. You can bring in the max contracts. You're going to have a good draft pick. Like I said, you're worrying about the Cavs. You're worrying about the Bulls. You're worrying about the Suns and all those other kind of bottom tier teams that are looking for that Zion pick too.
Yeah, man. If they can get Zion, bring in 2 max contracts. I'm not going to pipe dream on Kevin Durant. It's a little too early for that. He put the media in their place the other night, though, which was awesome to see. But you know what? At this point,
it's a wake me up when you're there kind of thing with me. Because you can call me a bad fan for not sticking with them through the tough times. There are only tough times, and at some point it's like I'm not going to waste my time anymore. I'm not.
Enough's enough.
Yeah, though. A good fan shuts the TV off because they value their time and their attention.
I would have to admit, though, I like watching the young guys. I'll give them a few minutes of my time here or there. I bet the over on the Knicks this year. Foolishly, I'll blame several individuals for that. I got peer pressured, I swear.
Bunch of marks.
Here I am trying to put my faith in. At the time, in my defense, we had thought that Porzingis was going to be playing by November or December with a bevy of guys that we believed in. Thank God they got rid of Enos Cancer, though. Or Cantor, whatever the fuck his name is.
He's gonna kiss the court now. He's gonna kiss the court.
He got to kiss the court.
He got to kiss the court. And he got to kiss.
And they got rid of him. Get him out of here.
Now I, as the wise one of the tandem here, I put my money and my faith in the great city of Atlanta. After riding the
unbelievable
Acuna-driven Braves run this year. And their amazing 2018 rise back to relevance.
And your Hawks jersey's in the mail, right?
Well, it's circling around the globe somewhere. I'm not sure if it's left China yet.
Right.
Yes, I went with the Atlanta Hawks. They were the lowest over/under number in the mix.
Okay.
It was 24.
It's a fair reason.
And like the Knicks, they had their star was starting the season on the bench, John Collins, and he's back and he's on fire. Him and Trae Young have really put together an exciting team, and they're showing you that a team can actually rebuild in the NBA format. They're playing great.
Are you going to get it?
It's looking good. I mean, we're sitting at 18 wins.
That's all you can ask for.
Yeah, you got to get to 24 to tie, 25 to win.
The bottom line is, I made a bet in September, or right before the season started, and I lost that bet before the new year.
Yeah,
and that's what's painful. I'm okay with losing bets, but just take me to March or April. Bring me along for the ride. Like, I'd be watching right now every game, hoping to hit my 30. Like, at least you're still in it. That's nice.
Yeah, and there's actually been some exciting basketball going on down there a little bit. Of course, you tune it in on day one and you see Vince Carter, the NBA's resident dinosaur, the original Raptor himself.
They keep paying him, huh?
They keep paying him, and he just exchanges jerseys with every team he goes to, and it's a little farewell tour. I think he's down to about 7 minutes a game now, but he's still chucking up threes.
Good for him.
Hitting them. Yeah, that's it. You got Jeremy Lin running around there to the aforementioned Jeremy Lin.
Good for him.
They're trying to sell some tickets down in Atlanta. Can't kill him for that. But I think we've exhausted the NBA.
You sure?
Yeah, you wanted to talk about bowling or darts, or was it golf?
Oh,
golf,
no.
yes.
Right. Which is a sport, by the way.
Okay, well, we'll say that.
It's a sport. So, like, I just something that happened last week that really quickly I wanted to touch upon was the Spanish golfer Sergio Garcia was playing in Saudi Arabia, which is crazy to begin with, and he went and damaged 5 greens in an actual tournament where people get paid. And I just thought that was something worth mentioning because, watching, everyone's angrily hit their ball after missing a putt and maybe scraped a little bit of the green here or there. Sometimes golf can be an infuriating game. But you're a professional golfer. No. You've made a very handsome living playing a freaking game.
Yeah.
And to do that deliberately on 5 holes in a golf round just shows that you have zero respect for anybody else on the course.
Yeah, I mean, the green is probably the one, if there's one sacred ground in golf, it's the green.
It's the green. It's the green.
Is Saudi Arabia really the best time to be displaying your disrespect for the game?
I didn't think he was going to make it out of there.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. And they've had a couple of these events here. I mean, they did a big international soccer match there. I think it was the first one after all the whole controversy. Uh-huh. They did a big wrestling event there too.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Over the summer, I want to say. And they brought in all the old dinosaurs. Like Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker, and had them all wrestle each other. I think the prince of Saudi Arabia demanded that the main event be Yokozuna versus the Ultimate Warrior. And they had to inform him that both those gentlemen had passed away.
Shut up.
One of them over 20 years ago.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So I didn't even know that I knew the golf thing was going on. It wasn't. I didn't know it was in Saudi Arabia. But did they all go?
So there was
some didn't.
Yeah, there was some. There was some slack that was given, or flack rather, for those pros that went. But Saudi went up to these guys like, hey, we'll give you $1 million.
Was Tiger there?
No.
Okay.
No, Tiger wasn't there. There was a bunch of people that declined going.
Right.
But all the big names that went, they got paid before they even hit a golf ball, just to be there,
right,
to promote the game and things of that nature. I'm all for promoting the game. I love golf. I'm not sure that Saudi Arabia is somewhere where I would have any desire to go to.
Not for me. I'm with you on that. But hey, it's a payday for these guys.
It's a payday.
And there's money to be kicked around over there. If they want to.
Absolutely, they throw money around.
Yeah, put on a dog and pony show, they'll do it.
So, but just bad job by Sergio Garcia there, and I hope that he learns from that mistake because it's a bad job.
Yeah,
it's a bad job.
Bad job.
So anyway, moving on from golf, don't want to. Hopefully everyone wakes back up now.
Yeah.
We're gonna jump into something else that I think is.
I mean, after talking about Dre spending time in the shower and Maroon 5 taking his shirt off and 20 minutes on LeBron James, I'm surprised if anyone's still listening right now.
If you've made it this far,
right,
we commend you.
Yeah.
Major League Baseball, they are implementing a few new rules.
Potentially.
Yeah. Right, potentially. I think, though, if they're looking at the steps they need to take to gain viewership, because that's what it's all about, I think they're in a tricky spot here. I'm concerned with the integrity of the game itself.
As am I.
With some of these rule changes. I know...
and to be specific too, so you know exactly what we're talking about. If you haven't been honed in on it, the Players Association and the owners have sat down for the first time in a while, which is significant in itself.
Yeah,
because the two sides have been basically in a Cold War. And we're closer to work stoppage than we've been since '94.
Yeah, well, I think we're barreling towards that like an asteroid.
Yeah. And this is a good sign.
Bruce Willis is drilling through the asteroid right now, trying to get it stopped.
Oh yes, and I think Tony Clark is the drill. Anyway, so that it is news that the groups got together and have exchanged dialogue, and it's not just one group talking at the other saying this is what we want.
Right.
They're kicking ideas around, and
which is good.
Yeah, and which of those rules kind of stuck out at you?
So I won't start with the DH issue.
Right.
What I will start with, which I don't like, and I don't like that we're going to bring in a reliever and he has to throw to 3 batters. I don't think that is something that will turn out to be a positive, because we're in a situation in a baseball game where you're trying to win that game. Mm-hmm. So if you're going to then have to determine that pitcher has to be in the game for 3 batters when he may not be in the game for 3 batters if A, he doesn't have his stuff that day, or B, he doesn't have good numbers against the next guy. We're going into a situation where we're compromising the actual outcome of a game because that guy has to be on the field for 3 batters.
I'm glad to hear you say that, not because I agree with you, because I don't.
Okay.
But you're the only one I've heard take the other side of it so far. So I like that, and I do agree with some of those points. Like it's a nice way to think of it. I think I'm with the people that I've heard have just looked at it the other way, in that we can't take these changes every batter. Pitching change, commercial, pitching change, commercial, pitching change, commercial, repeat. And I didn't take a step back and necessarily look at it and say, well, what if this guy doesn't have his stuff and this and listen, it's going to change the game.
It's going to change the game,
and it's going to put lefty specialists out of a gig.
But here's
not that I care about that. But,
no. But here's my proposal back to you in that situation. Then that person who comes out of the bullpen doesn't throw 8 pitches. We don't go to commercial. They are ready to come in the game right away. Mm-hmm. In that moment. Maybe we don't have the manager come out and waddle out of the dugout to take the ball from the person. I'm not sure what the answer is here.
Well, I mean, they brought that up last year, and the players' union screamed and cried, and you had David Robertson, whining about him doing his regular routine, and he doesn't want to switch it up. And how can you tell me that I need to be ready in this amount of time when I didn't have the amount of time I wanted? The pitch clocks, that whole gimmick, I get it. They need to do it, but they have to enforce it. And until they enforce it, you can't take it seriously. Because they had pitch clocks last year. Did you see one? Did you see one bring it up? Did you see an umpire bring it up?
No, but it should be right behind the batter.
Yeah, and there should be a rule. What happens if it expires? There's no rule. It's just there's a clock. And what happens if it expires? Well, don't let it expire.
Ball 1.
Yeah.
It's the only way.
But that's not in the rule book. The rule book right now is just please abide by the clock. It's like if you don't give me
on the honor system.
Yeah, if there's no consequence, then what am I even looking at the clock for?
No.
Now the thing that my defense of the 3 batter rule here, and I think it will eliminate a lot of the nonsense we saw with the bullpen and these guys who are in my opinion, it's gamesmanship, but it's
getting out of control.
It's getting out of control when you're just DLing guys because they have the sniffles, and then we bring a guy up from AAA, and then we fly him back the next day.
Yeah.
And they're going to look at the disabled list, I think, eventually. Oh, it's not called the disabled list anymore, by the way, because that's offensive.
Watch out.
Right.
You're going to eat
people's ears. What's it called?
It's the injured list.
The injured list.
Which frankly makes sense. The
IL.
fact that we're changing it because we might hurt someone's feelings, but
we'll save that for another day.
The other 3 major North American sports, none of them have a disabled list.
It's IR, I think, in most of them, right?
Yeah, they all have some.
Yeah, I mean, listen, baseball is an old sport, and it came from a time that's probably not really conscious of.
They weren't thinking about
feelings
stuff like that. Yeah,
no. I think it took them a little while to add Jackie Robinson to the league, so that baseball history isn't necessarily the sacred thing.
Yeah.
I think that if you establish a set of rules, and the rule says if you're going to bring this clown in from the bullpen, you're going to live with him for 3 hitters. And I can go back in my head just thinking of all the pitchers I would not have wanted to face one hitter, let alone three.
Agreed.
And I'm cringing at the idea of as a Braves fan, the Braves old school manager saying, I got a hunch. And I'm watching Sam Freeman throw the ball all over the place, and it's like, is this ever going to end? Where's the third batter? Just intentionally walk the bases loaded already. But
it's going to change the outcome.
It creates an element of strategy, and it puts more pressure on these managers to be good at what they do. Sure. And I think that there's not enough. I think a lot of these guys are they're just looking at books and pushing buttons and making, this is a move that says, no, if I'm going to bring this guy in, I better like this move, because there are consequences to this move. And the consequences is not, all right, I have Oliver Perez, who all he can do is get lefties out at this point in his career.
Right.
And I'm going to bring him in to face Bryce Harper.
Uh-huh.
And because he's my best chance to get Bryce Harper out. Yeah, but what happens after Bryce Harper? And
right.
you have
a big
righty next.
Now you have moves. You're looking moves ahead.
Right.
You're looking 3, 4, 5, 6 batters ahead before a decision's being made here.
Yeah. And if it's the 8th inning before, and you have a 9th inning closer, and it's Bryce Harper, and then it's a power righty, and then it's another power lefty, I can go Oliver Perez. I can go my best righty, your right-handed, and then I go back to my lefty closer to get 4 outs. Now you can't do that. Now if you're going to bring in a guy to get the big lefty out, he better go in there and be able to get a righty out too. Yeah. And you better have more quality over quantity. Quantity does not make ratings. Quantity does not make ratings, and that's what last year was. It was them just getting as many warm bodies out on the field as they could to just kind of grind out each regular season game at 162.
I think that they need to reevaluate having some flexibility with that roster spot. Make it 26. I also don't understand, and we don't need to dive too far into this, like, why in September is there a 40-man roster? But that doesn't make sense to me, that the most important month of Major League Baseball that determines whether or not teams go to the playoffs or not can then be determined by someone who's been in the minor leagues for 5 months.
Yeah. It's like we rehearsed this, because I disagree with you again. But now you're in the majority here with this one, because you turn it on and everybody screams and yells and wants that rule removed. I like it because
it gives wind towards the back end. I understand.
It exactly. You got a 162 game season. You're grinding it out all year. Let September now. We're 10 games up. Let me get some other guys on the field. All right.
Yeah.
Or if we're in a race, I can give this guy a breather and still have a guy that. But the thing I like about it the most, and this isn't necessarily on the competitive edge of the game, which I do get. Why are you changing the rules in the heat of a pennant race? I do get that.
Yeah.
I like the opportunity to introduce these prospects to the big show, and even especially if your team is 500 or worse, and you're not making the playoffs.
It makes sense there.
I can bring up Vlad Guerrero Jr. and see what he looks like in the main stage. I can bring up a blue chip top prospect.
Sure.
And it gives my fans another reason to turn the television on.
Yeah.
And if you're...
I want to see that prospect.
Yeah, I want to see that prospect. And I don't have to designate one of my veterans for assignment in the last month of the year and piss off the union again. Mm-hmm. So I can fill the clubhouse out. You get everyone in. I think it's a nice thing they do. The ESPN weasels are all over it. It's gonna go away.
I'd rather
it's gonna go away.
I'd rather it be 30 the entire year. As crazy as that sounds.
I do too. The owners won't do that for financial reasons.
No, I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. So from that standpoint, I would like to see an increase in the roster spot.
I totally agree with that.
But they may not need it as bad if they go to that rule, which I think they're going to compromise and come down to 2 on. Coming out of the bullpen for 3 will end up being coming out of the bullpen for 2. I think that's a fair compromise, and I can live with that better than 3.
You still keep a lefty specialist. You don't want to kill jobs. You don't want to kill jobs. And by doing the 3, you're killing a job in the left specialist. And now, if we're talking about the DH, because that's going to be another conversation.
Yeah.
And I think we're probably on other ends of this one too.
Probably. You sure about that?
But I'm not as hard on as steadfast on my side.
And I'm not either.
As you might think I am.
I'm surprised to hear you say that.
Listen, I'm an NL guy. I'm a National League Baseball guy. I love National League Baseball, and you're an AL guy.
Right.
So
we know this.
Right. So we get that. And I like watching National League Baseball. I think it's a better product. I think it's a better brand of baseball.
Okay.
I think there's more to it. there's
I like the thinking part of it. There's a lot.
Yeah, there's more thinking going on. There's
there's
a strategic aspect to it.
Yeah.
Whereas the AL is kind of let's just stock our lineups up and let the bruisers play, and the game's only 5 hours long, and that's what it comes down to.
So my thing on it is, and this is how I feel. I think if in college you don't have pitchers hitting, in the minor leagues you don't have pitchers hitting, so they go through all that entire process.
You do have.
They don't hit in the minors.
They do. They don't more often than they do.
Correct.
But there are games without DHs.
But I'm just saying though,
it's the home team's option.
There's a huge majority of situations where after high school, if someone is specializing in pitching, they're not spending any time on hitting. And so what I would say to you is either we make them hitters who pitch, like Ohtani out there,
right?
And then you have a hitter and someone who gets paid to pitch and hit.
Right.
Otherwise, you have someone who's going to get a hit less than 1% of the time he goes up on 10 at-bats. And I have a problem with that. That's not fun to me. And not only that, they can't even bunt properly. So they're not even doing the one job that, like, half of the NL pitchers, if we were to go down,
that the AL pitchers don't bunt properly? None of the pitchers.
I'm saying that none of them. There's a handful of pitchers out there.
It's more than a handful
that are talented enough.
It's more than a handful. I tell you, the pitchers bunt better than the hitters do.
Yeah, well, that's a whole nother.
Yeah.
That whole thing grinds my gears. I don't understand that. I can understand someone who pitches all the time not being able to handle a bat and being able to bunt.
I mean, I'll say that there are pitchers who came out this week who were furious about this.
I saw it too.
And there's something to be said for that.
That's fine.
And it's like, it's not like if all the pitchers are like, why are we doing this? Like, why are we, like you'd think, look at like CC Sabathia, a couple of years ago, like you'd think that, he'd go, oh, I condition myself to condition myself. I go out and I'm a pitcher, and now I got to risk injury. He's not thinking about risking injury. He's up there. He's got a big smile, and he's swinging for the fence. He likes it. That's why I heard like Buster only.
Kind of the other thing.
Tanaka, he sprained both of his ankles and tore both his quads. Well, then you know what? I'm sorry. You can't run from point A to point B and get your ass to the injured list.
Chin-Ming Wang.
All right.
It derailed his career. So here's the other side of it. You have half the league doing it all the time, and then you have half the league doing it some of the time. I don't know, man.
We're not asking them to. We're not asking them to run marathons here.
So, we're not.
Mariano Rivera's most significant injury of his career was shagging fly balls in BP.
I know.
He sprained it, or he hurt his ankle or his knee in the warning track, right?
Yes.
That was that. So injuries happen.
They do. But
feeling a bunt, you can.
But like we're paying that individual millions of dollars, sometimes 20 million, sometimes 25, because he's really good at throwing a baseball. And now we're going to jeopardize that person that we've paid. I'm just talking from a standpoint of being an owner here, and I have someone out there who I've put a lot of money in being my number one starter, now needing to score from second base. Let alone having to be in a situation.
I personally don't mind the idea of, if we're concerned about that, giving them a free runner.
That'd be crazy. They're never going to do that. They're never going to do that.
Yeah, probably not. But I'm not concerned about them getting hurt. To me, you play baseball. I mean, how many pitchers get hurt on the base pass in a given year? 1?
I mean,
0.5?
The bottom line is 95% of them get injured throwing a baseball.
Yeah, injuries happen. Like you said, there's guys standing in the on deck circle get hit by a baseball. There's guys shagging flies in BP and they turn out. There's guys riding forerunners. World Series MVPs on their forerunners, dislocating their shoulder now for the season. Like, injuries are going to happen. You can't control that aspect of it.
I know you don't think it's a better product to have a lineup full of actual baseball hitters. I know you don't think that's the case.
I get
and
what you're doing there.
And you're a purist.
Well, yeah, I'm a purist. Yeah,
that's fine. That's fine. And we both love the game to the same degree. I want to see that this game has the same popularity in 20 years that it does now that it did 20 years ago, whatever have you.
And you don't think making it more cookie cutter, making both leagues exactly the same, works toward that or against that?
I think it works for me personally. I think whenever you have a situation where you pay somebody to hit a baseball and that's what he does and that's what he lives for, to have that individual in the lineup over somebody who doesn't pick up a bat probably until a week before his first at bat, other than bunting and spring training and whatever else they do.
Be out there taking BP. It's a 162 game season.
But they're not, though. You know they're not.
Some of them are.
You know their regiment. You know how pitchers are and how regimented they are in their fundamentals of what they need to do to prepare themselves for their one game a week.
I get that, but at the same time, as we're not talking about, a student that has a 40-minute study break to get what they need to get done. This is a 162 season. They're pitching once a week. They're pitching once, maybe twice a week.
I know.
They have all of this time.
But they don't.
They can't hit a batting practice. They do. Of course they do.
I mean, listen, we don't have the stats in front of us right now, but if we were to go down the list of every pitcher in the National League, down the line of what their average is right now from 2018, it's deplorable.
Yeah, no, it's bad.
There's not one person who's over two batting average
no
two.
one's arguing
So that's my argument.
That is part of the game. Is that when you have that 8 hitter up, you're pitching around him because you know that there's a weak hitter up next. And now
don't you think the pitcher's got a break because of that? So now the pitcher has a break. Because he gets to face a pitcher, instead of having to face.
But that's part of the dynamic of being.
I got you.
Just like a pitcher who pitches at a pitcher's ballpark, like Coors Field or Baltimore, doesn't have the ability to pitch that's what they want.
You said
I'm sorry, a hitter's ballpark. Right. All right, you got me. You got me.
I got you. But
46 minutes in, you nailed me.
I waited 46 minutes and I finally got you.
But a pitcher pitching in Coors Field or pitching in Camden Yards doesn't have the liberties that a pitcher pitching in Petco Park does, in San Diego, because
it's part of the game.
There's variables, and the more variables we take away, and the stat geeks want to turn this into a Robotron, and to me, baseball's always kind of been that wild card sport.
Okay.
Now, the pros, it creates a job, and I like that. Putting a DH in the National League creates a job.
It's another specialty position where you could have without the DH, Edgar Martinez ceased to exist.
Yeah, I mean, listen, yeah, he doesn't cease to exist. He ceases to play till he's 42. He's a first baseman until he's 37.
He stunk in the field,
right? But he hit well enough for 38 to justify him being in the field.
You and I both know that if you can hit.
Yeah, they'll find a spot for you.
They'll find a spot for you.
The old adage.
Absolutely.
So it does create that job. Now they cannot put this into play this year. They cannot do that.
No.
They were talking about that, and to me, it's like, we're halfway through the off season.
You can't build teams around a DH now.
Half the season they've already signed their guys. They've signed lefty relievers. They've signed
I'm with you.
I'm sure it will be 2020 or later. They're gonna lose the DH. They're gonna lose. They're gonna lose the pitchers.
Will you be mad? Will you be mad and devastated, or will you understand?
Devastated is not the word.
Okay, all right. Because that's a little impactful of a word.
Yes,
I got you.
But that's the old Tom Glavine. After he blew the game for the Mets, they asked him, "Was he devastated?" And he said, "Well, there wasn't an earthquake at the."
Yeah, everyone's alive after this one. You got to kind of take it for what it is.
No, I mean, I won't be happy. I'll be upset.
Okay.
I'll be a very mild upset.
Yeah, and believe it or not, I kind of will be as well, even though I'm on the other side and believe that it's about time that we get the leagues together, especially since one night a week you have an NL and an AL game. Like, you might as well make them all the same.
Yeah,
but,
well, I got issues with that too. To me, I grew up. I don't want to sound like Clint Eastwood on his porch here, but I grew up with the NL being one thing and the AL being another, and the teams don't see each other until the World Series, and that was a great dynamic.
It was beautiful. It was beautiful.
Right, and then Interleague came in, and all right, there was one series a year, 2 series a year, and now
exciting.
they're playing every day, and it's just
exciting.
it's like the NBA all over again, you know. And there's no difference between the. And now if you put the DH in there, now there really is no difference. And then the next generation of baseball fans grows up
have
not
no
knowing
idea
what. And now the All-Star game is just another All-Star game, and that's one of the nice parts about the baseball All-Star game is that
you'd see players you'd never really see throughout the year,
and it's the only All-Star game that matters because you look at the clown show that the Pro Bowl is. You know, you look at the NHL All-Star game is basically a lacrosse game.
Yeah.
You know, and then. For kid, the NBA is, you know...
And at the end of I didn't even watch the Pro Bowl either. I didn't watch the Pro Bowl.
Oh, no.
Yeah, there's no defense being played, nothing going on. But, I if this is all in the interest of saving time to put more eyeballs in front of a television, I mean, we got to talk about significant time. You know, if they're doing all this for 5 minutes, then keep it as it is. Because 5 minutes isn't going to change whether or not you love baseball or not. Or you want to sit in front of a TV for 5 minutes less to watch a game. But if we're talking about 20, 30 minutes, if we can take a baseball game from, 7 to 10:30 and make it 7 to 10, then we're cooking with some gas.
Yeah. Yeah, 3 hours is, I mean...
I'm okay with that.
4 hours is a little brutal. I mean, it's a little
some brutal games,
Yeah, they're working toward it. They want it to happen. You can't put a clock on baseball going. There's going to be some games that are 2.5 hours. There's going to be some that are going to be 4.5 hours.
The beauty of it, you need 27 outs, and there's nothing you can do about it.
That's it.
Bottom line. So that's it. We'll exhaust some more baseball talk.
Real quick, I just want to end on the free agencies. I guess I got the big free agents out there.
Oh yeah, for sure.
What are your thoughts? Now, are you for everyone screaming and yelling that that there needs to be deadlines and that the free agency shouldn't go on like this and what's good?
I am absolutely. I think it's remarkable the amount of players that are still available, the amount of good talent that is still available besides Bryce Harper and Manny Machado. There is a lot of talent out there.
There's a lot, yeah.
So it's kind of alarming to me. No, I don't think there should be any sort. Dude, it's the market.
It's a market,
and the owners are in absolute control and within all their rights to do what they feel is necessary and in the best interest of their team. I think the numbers are just astronomically high. That these players want a lot of money.
Yeah. And they always want to compare it to, this guy wants Buster Posey money, and this guy wants this Aroldis Chapman money.
Uh-huh.
Okay, but those were bad contracts. So you're not going to get Chapman money because that was the biggest contract of all time, and we're not even sure if it makes sense yet.
And no one thought it was a good idea when it happened.
Yeah. One thing that just drives me nuts when I hear people talking about this that they don't grasp is. Everyone wants to say, the owners have all this money. They have all this money. They're all, fat cats sitting up on their perches.
Yeah.
Swimming in
luxury
box. Yeah,
gold
swimming
coins,
in right. Like doing the Scrooge McDuck dive into the swimming pool of coins.
Yeah.
And they don't want to give money out to these guys.
Uh-huh.
Okay, fine. But that's not the reason that aging players potentially on the decline that analytics are showing are on the decline aren't getting large contracts. There are rules in place. There's not a salary cap, but there is a luxury tax. And the luxury tax just doesn't penalize you money. It also penalizes you international slot.
Yep.
And it penalizes you draft picks.
Right.
So if you're just the humanitarian that needs to throw Adam Jones his payday so his grandchildren don't have to worry about making a living for themselves,
right.
And then you're way up over the luxury tax, which almost every team in the league has worked to get down.
Agreed.
Below now.
Besides the Dodgers, really.
I think the Dodgers
working
got
on
under.
it, right?
The Dodgers and the Yankees both got under because they both would have faced the draft pick penalties this season.
Oh, okay. And now the Red Sox are.
They're over
they're
it. But
over.
it goes. You get penalized each year you're over it, and the penalties increase.
Yes.
So the Yankees and the Dodgers were at that last tier where they would have lost draft picks and they would have lost slot money.
And they were paying like 50%.
And they would have paid an obscene amount.
It was just crazy stuff.
As a GM, you're responsible for the team winning. You're not responsible for, hoarding your owner's treasures.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm out there, if I'm the Friedmans out there in LA, and I'm Brian Cashman, in New York, and I'm sitting there saying, wait a minute, if I sign Harper, or I think or whoever was out there last year, or if I sign Machado, and I'm gonna push me over the spot. Now I'm losing draft picks and I'm losing international slot money, so I can't bring in new players. 5 years from now, if I have no farm system and we're in last place, I'm getting fired. So forget about the treasures.
Absolutely
and so there are rules in place and there's a strategy, and you get penalized for giving out bad contracts. So, and no one touches upon that. They just want to say, like, how are they not paying these people? If you want to pay the people, you raise the league minimum salary. Mm-hmm. Raise that up from, I think it's $550K right now.
Yes.
Raise that up to $750K. Raise that up to $1 million. Yeah. If you're on the 40-man roster, you're getting paid.
Yep.
Okay.
Right.
And then then you raise the luxury tax. Mm-hmm. Raise that in proportion.
Yeah.
Simple economy. And it's not as simple as, okay, if all the guys aren't signed by this date, then the owners are getting penalized. It's just not as simple as that.
No. And to that point, what's happening right now, there's talks of collusion and things of that nature amongst the owners of, like, they're not paying anyone. But the market dictates the money.
Yeah.
And I think if we're talking on a normal level here, you got two 26-year-olds who can easily gobble up a 7-year contract worth astronomical money per year. No problem right now.
Yeah.
But they're looking for the moon and the stars. And they're looking to not have to prove... They don't want to prove themselves again for a second contract. They feel like they've proved themselves enough over these last 7 years getting paid whatever they've been getting paid. Probably handsomely within itself. But here we are. We have 100 free agents not signed. And... I think they're waiting to see who blinks first.
Yeah.
And I don't know who it's going to be. I don't know where they're going to go. I'm holding out hope.
Yeah, and you have Harper and Machado are waiting for the other. They're not just waiting for the owners and the blank. They're waiting for each other to, but they don't want to be the first guy.
Exactly, because then all of a sudden Harper signs for $5 million, 5 years, and then Machado signs for 8, and Harper's like,
market.
Yeah, and so there's a lot going on there. They're meeting with other teams. They want. Obviously, I'm a Yankee fan, and
where do you think they end up?
I think that they're going to end up at a place that hasn't even been discussed yet.
Yeah, that's possible. That always kind of seems to happen.
If I had my choice between the two, I would pick Harper over Machado, just because of the Yankees situation.
I would agree with that.
Looking at the Yankees lineup, being a Yankee fan. They're just so righty. They're just so righty heavy.
Yeah.
That, like, I don't trust Ellsbury. I think Gardner's a fourth outfielder. Clint Frazier's a righty.
Who's that?
Which one?
Who's Clint Frazier? Who's that?
Oh, he's the redhead. You know who he is. Stop.
Once it gets to 100 employees, I don't take it. I don't take attention.
He's the redhead. He had a concussion last year.
Okay.
Yeah. I thought you were asking me who Jacoby Ellsbury was.
No.
That would have been good. That would have been good. Yeah.
Now there was a Clint Frazier trade to the Braves rumored last week. Did you hear this one?
I did not hear
for Julio Teheran, straight up.
Would that excite you or piss you off? That would excite me.
I would think
I'll take him in spades. I'll take Teheran in spades.
There would be money involved on the Yankees end. They'd have to eat this. Yeah,
no problem.
And you're going to see he's very similar to the gentleman, the wonderful gentleman you shipped off to Cincinnati. He's got a lot of Sonny Gray in him.
Oh, he's a little soft.
Yeah, no, just nibbler.
Not trusting stuff.
Yeah. He's kind of trying to work off the things he had. He gives up the long ball. for a lot of people who I saw reacting to that were saying the Yankees wouldn't do it.
Oh,
But I look at that and just say, Clint Frazier, what are you doing with him? He's sitting in AAA.
I think he's going to end up.
Cashman's all about protecting his assets. At some point, you have 3 Major League All-Stars in your outfield, and you got a 26-year-old or 25-year-old, whatever he is, 24,
yeah,
down in AAA, and he's got to get a shot.
Right. But Judson being, I feel like we put ourselves. Right back into being 15 drunk in my parents' basement.
I think so. We rekindled the old magic,
the old flame, and
we didn't get to talk. We jeered right out before we got to talk about how well the Islanders are doing, but that's all right. We'll save that for next time.
I guess you can. I guess we'll wait another week to see if they're still doing good, and then we can talk about.
I think the first place Islanders will be in great shape next week.
So,
but this is a good time. I'm looking forward to this. We got many more weeks to come here.
Yeah, I'm excited, and look for us on Spotify, on iTunes, and we thank you for listening. And this is Weeze and the Fat Dawg signing off until next time. Cheers.